Okay, so Sean Venus finished his narration, and it's time to start the game. When you begin the game, regardless of which civ you are, you're going to start with a settler and a warrior. Now, the settler is a very important unit because if this one dies, you lose the game. This is the unit with which you found your first city. A really great player will spend some time, analyzing the map and terrain and making like some educated decision about where to found their first city. But what I found is that 99% of the time, the settler starts out in a totally fine spot. So as a new player, just go ahead, click the Found City button, and get right to cracking. Now, then you have your warrior, and we're going to go ahead and send this warrior out scouting. You want to try to send it out and find some things in your surrounding area. You're looking for barbarians. You're looking for city-states, you're looking for other civilizations, and if nothing else, you're looking for another place to settle your next city. You can kind of scroll around a little bit and see where the edge of the map is. So like I know that this right here is actually the edge of the map, so I'm more likely to find stuff if I go like, west and north than if I go south. The way that movement works in this game is that units have a total number of movement points. For warriors, it's 2, you can see down here. Moving on flat terrain costs 1 movement point, whereas moving on hilly or forested terrain costs 2 movement points. And moving across a river uses up all your movement points, at least early in the game. If you're not sure like what type of terrain you're looking at, you can hover your mouse and it'll tell you. So like this is grassland hills, so I know that moving here will take up both of my warriors' movement points. This right here is just regular old grassland, so it'll only take 1 movement point. However, if I move here, there's nowhere else I could move to for a single movement point because all these other areas are either across a river or they're difficult terrain. So moving here isn't going to actually get me any farther than moving up on this hill. And line of sight does sort of apply. So like if I were to move here, I wouldn't actually see very much because of these forests would block my terrain. So I'm going to move onto the hill to see what I can see. All right, so there's some wheat out here, and I'll keep exploring as the turns go on. Now let's take a look at cities. All right, so there's a lot to talk about here. If you are, feeling very, very anxious about playing this game, if there's like a lot of stuff and you get overwhelmed by rules, all you need to care about with cities is that you can choose what to produce in them. So when you click that button, choose production, you get a choice of things that you can make. So we can make a monument, which increases our culture output. We'll talk about later why that's important. You can't make a settler yet, but we saw what a settler was. Settlers are those dudes that make new cities. You can make builders, which improve tiles, scouts, which are good at exploring terrain, warriors, which we saw, and slingers, which are the first ranged attacking unit. So all you have to worry about at a bare minimum for cities is that they make stuff, and once they finish making a thing, you're going to be prompted to pick another thing for them to make. So let's say I'm going to make a scout here as my first item for the city. Eventually, 5 turns later, that scout will be finished, and the game will prompt me to produce something else. And I can just keep doing that for my capital city of Cairo, and I can never care more about it other than that. It's just that whenever it finishes making something, the game's going to prompt me to choose to make something else, and then I'm going to make that, and then that'll be it. If you are a little bit more adventurous, then what you want to do is click on this Manage Citizens screen, and we can talk about that a little bit. Over here in the map options, I recommend clicking Show Yield Icons if you are this adventurous type of player. This will show you how much stuff each tile produces. On the left side of your city, you'll see a number. This is the population of the city, and each citizen in the city is going to work on one of the tiles within the city borders. When you first found your city, only the adjacent tiles will be within the city borders. However, over time, the borders will actually expand, and you can eventually get up to 3 tiles away from your city center within your borders. So eventually, like this hill up here, which is 1, 2, 3 spaces away from my capital, can be inside my city borders, and I can have somebody working on it. Now, when you look at a tile, this will tell you what it produces if you have somebody working on that tile. So for example, this tile right here produces 2 food. These little, if you zoom in, you can actually see these are corn. That each one of them represents 1 food. So food does a couple of things. Number 1, it feeds your people. And number 2, as you collect food, you can actually grow the size of the city. So right here it says there are 5 turns until growth, because between the 2 food that I'm making over here and the 2 food that's being made by my home tile, my city center, I'm producing 4 food. The citizen eats some of it, the rest of it is stockpiled, and once the stockpile reaches a big enough level, my population grows. So 5 turns from now, I'm actually going to have 2 citizens in the city. So I'm going to be able to have this one who's working on this tile producing 2 gold, 2 food, and 1 production. And I'm going to have another citizen who can work another one of the tiles. So as you can imagine, growing your city is pretty important. You'll want to check in to make sure your cities are actually growing, because the more that the city grows, the more tiles you can work and the more productive that city is. Now, as you can guess, these little cogs, they used to be hammers in the other games, but now these cogs, or these gears, whatever you want to call them, they represent production. And production is what you need in order to build stuff. So if we go back and check our production queue, you know, if we like highlight over something, you know, you'll notice that warriors, for example, cost 40 productions, or have a base cost of 40 production, and then right now it shows that the actual cost is 26 production, because we're playing on a quicker game speed. The point is that everything that you build in this game has a certain production cost, and so the more production that your city makes, the faster it is that you can do stuff. So like right now, for example, the scout, we need 20 production to make it, and we have a production of 4 inside this city. So it's going to take 5 turns to make the scout, because 4 times 5 is 20. If, however, we were to manage the citizens and move this guy onto the food tile by clicking on the food tile, you'll notice now that when we go back to the production queue, it's going to take longer to make the scout, because our production dropped from 4, as you can see here, down to 3. So, you know, the choices that you make about where to put your citizens can be significant, because, you know, changing how much production I'm making changes how quickly I can make stuff. However, if I increase my food, notice now it's only going to take 4 turns to grow the city instead of 5. So these are the choices that you have to make, is, you know, do I want to grow my city faster by having more food, or do I want to make more production, and whatnot. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put it back on the default space. What you can do is you can lock certain tiles. Notice this has like a little lock icon. That means that the governor of the city will not move the citizen around. He's going to be forced to remain in this place at all times. You can also click buttons down here in order to change the focus of the city. So usually what I'll do, just to simplify things for myself, is I'll click food focus and production focus. And what that'll do is it'll cause the city to, you know, balance food and production. Culture, science, faith, and gold output are comparatively less important, although of course any of those things are nice to have. So anyway, all this stuff I just talked about, you can totally ignore it. Like I said, you can just found a city, produce when the game prompts you to produce something, and never care about more than that. And, you know, as the city grows and whatever, the governor of the city, the AI, will kind of take care of placement for you. But you can certainly get in there and micromanage and make some other options for the city. Now, another thing that you can consider are amenities and housing capacity. So what housing capacity tells you is like how big your city can grow before the growth slows down. When you're at housing capacity -1, you start to get a penalty to growth, and the penalty increases dramatically when you're at housing capacity and beyond. It doesn't make it impossible to grow beyond the housing capacity, but it really slows it down. So eventually you'll want to look for buildings or other things that can improve your housing capacity if you want your city to get really big. The other thing to consider are amenities. So amenities represent niceties or luxuries for your people. And right now we're at +1, which is good. The bigger the city gets, the more amenities it's going to want. And eventually, as the city gets really, really big, we're going to start to go into negative amenities. Now, what negative amenities does is it reduces the yields of your city. So you get like a penalty to how much, you know, production or gold you're bringing in from the citizens who are working on the tiles. So you'll want to start looking for ways to get more amenities in order to stop that problem from happening. We'll talk a little bit about amenities later on. For now, let's leave the city screen behind and check out the research tab. So in this game, you're going to want to do some scientific research, and that'll unlock various things. I'm not going to talk about it too much in this video, but it can unlock, you know, different units that you can make, like archery lets you make archers. It can unlock different buildings. It can unlock different districts. It can sometimes, you know, unlock special abilities and so on. The choices I'm going to make here are not necessarily, you know, optimal choices. They're just choices I'm going to make so I can illustrate more stuff. For example, researching the pottery tech allows us to build granaries. And a granary is a building, you can highlight over here and see, that costs 65 production, and it provides 1 food and 2 housing. So it makes your city grow a little bit faster, and it increases the housing cap so that the city can grow bigger without incurring a penalty. So once I finish researching pottery, which will happen in 6 turns, I will have the option of building granaries in all of my cities. In addition, you can also research civics. Now, civics are researched with culture as opposed to technologies, which are researched with science. Both culture and science are increased automatically as your empire grows. So the more population you have in your cities and the more total cities you have, the more your science and your culture output. Of course, there are other things you can do besides that to increase your science or culture output further, but those two resources, science and culture, affect only their respective trees. Now, civic trees have to do with government. And in the game, you start with a very, very simple form of government. It's like a chieftainship, basically. And all you can do is have one military policy and one economic policy. Right now, though, we don't have any policies at all, so we're going to have to wait for our first civic code of laws to finish before I can show you that screen. So for now, I'm just going to note that, in the civics tree, you're going to make choices about what to research, just like you will in the science tree. It just takes a little bit longer for that to come into effect at the beginning of the game. All right, so I've made all the choices for the turn. We're going to go ahead and click next turn. The game will just prompt you to go to the next turn once you've made all the options that you can. And while we're waiting for this scout to finish, which will take 4 more turns, we'll go ahead and keep exploring with our warrior to see what we can find in the vicinity. So I'm hoping eventually I find like a city-state or another civilization or something so I can talk about some of those mechanics. All right, so I'm exploring the tiles around the city. Remember, anything within 3 tiles of the city center can eventually be incorporated within the city borders and worked on by the citizens. If you really don't want to explore, you can hit the E button, and that will set the unit to auto-explore and just move everywhere, or move wherever it wants to try to explore as much of the map as possible every turn. All right, here we have a barbarian. This is a barbarian scout. What barbarian scouts do is they look for your city, and once they find it, they go back to the barbarian camp, and then the camp will spawn military units and then come down and try to take over your city. So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to fight the scout because scouts have a movement of 3. And so they can run away from your warriors, which have only a movement of 2. But I'll move next to the scout and see if the scout happens to be stupid for some reason and let me fight him. Then we'll have a chance to talk about combat. Alright, so we weren't able to fight the scout, but we did encounter a warrior from Germany, another civilization. So let's approach and see if we can have a chat. I'm also going to... Our scout just got formed, so I'm actually going to go ahead and cut off the barbarian scout with my scout, see if we can have a combat situation so I can teach you the rules for combat. Alright, notice now that the scout has finished building, the city is prompting us to make something else. And again, these are not necessarily the most optimal decisions I'm going to make, but I'm going to go ahead and make a builder so we can talk about what builders do, because that'll be a relatively important part of the game. Alright, so there's Germany. The AI introduces himself to you. And what you'll have as an option here will vary depending on where you encounter the person. So here, their warrior found our warrior closer to our capital than to theirs, so we have the option to invite them to visit our city. If we do this, this will tell Germany where the capital is. It will not tell us where his capital is, but it will improve, relations, making this guy friendlier toward us. So we'll do that. We'll let him visit the capital. And we got a Eureka here. So I'll talk about this now since it came up. In this game, every civic and every civilization, or every technology has a certain condition that if you meet it, causes half of the research to be completed automatically. So as you go along, you can increase the speed at which you research civics and technologies by trying to meet these conditions, and you can see them all, under the text. So writing, when you meet another civilization, it gets boosted, and so then, researching this technology becomes a little bit faster. We're going to go ahead and choose animal husbandry as our next technology. These first 3 don't have any of the Eurekas. They're the only ones that do not. And you can look in the civics tree. Code of Laws doesn't have anything, but all these other ones, will have some stuff. So I can look at this and be like, if I improve 3 tiles with a builder, then that'll boost craftsmanship. So that's why I'm making a builder, is to try to get that civic to happen faster. Alright, now the enemy scout ended up staying near us, so let's go ahead and talk about combat in this game. If you played like really old versions of Civ, like Civ 4 and earlier, those were very different. In those, one unit would move on to another and they would fight until one of them won. This game is different. Instead, when you attack another unit, the 2 of you have a fight and deal damage to each other, and then if neither of you dies, then like the aggressor just backs off. So what you can do is you can click on your unit and hover over the enemy unit, and you can get a preview in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen of what the fight will look like. I can't actually move there with my mouse because it makes it go away, but if you look down there where that's popping up, I can walk you through it. On the right is your unit, and it tells you what your military strength is. So in my case, it's really simple. I have a scout, which is a base attack of 10. So that's it. It just has a strength of 10. Now, on the left, it'll show the enemy unit. So this is the enemy scout, and it's a scout, so it also has, as you can see down there, a base strength of 10. However, it's got -5 penalty because it is damaged. As units in this game get damaged, their strength goes down, which is sort of realistic. Then, however, you'll notice it's got a +3 terrain as a bonus. So when you're the defender, you'll sometimes get a bonus depending on the sort of terrain that you're in. It's called ideal terrain. So like he's in a forest, so it's a little bit harder for me to get in there and attack him because he's got the trees covering them. So all in all, his strength is 8. In this game, the only thing that matters is the difference between your strength and the strength of the unit that you're attacking. So the difference between 100 and 98 is the same as the difference between 10 and 8. And the bigger the difference is, the more significantly you'll damage the opponent, and the less damage you'll take yourself. A good rule of thumb is that 5 is kind of a big deal. Like if you're 5 up on the thing you're attacking, that's pretty significant. If you're 10 up on the thing you're attacking, that's really huge. That thing's gonna get wrecked. So here, because the enemy scout is damaged, even though I only have a difference of 2, it's actually worth attacking this guy, because if I can manage to kill this barbarian, not only will it help get me some boosts, which are determined by killing barbarians, but it may stop the scout from getting back to its home base and causing the barbarian camp to spawn more units. I'm actually going to see if I can find that barbarian base so we can talk about that, because that'll be a pretty important part of the early game. Tragically, I'm not going to get to kill this thing, but I will damage him pretty good, so now he's very, very weak. Now my warrior is going to try to cut off the scout here by going downward, and the scout will be able to escape across the river. That'll take up all of his movement, I think, and then maybe the warrior will be able to attack from across the river and finish it off. We'll see. Alright, so the scout moved across the river this way, which makes it harder for me to kill him, but I want to go in this direction anyway, because I suspect this is where the camp is, so I'll move the warrior down here, and I'll move the scout down here as well. Now, in this game, units have melee units have what's called zone of control. The way that zone of control works is pretty straightforward. If an enemy unit moves into a space in your zone of control, then it can only attack you, it cannot move anywhere else. And zone of control is just any space that's adjacent to your unit, not across from a river. So if we look at my warrior, for example, its zone of control are these 4 spaces. So if any enemy moves in either of these 4 spaces, it has only 2 options. It either has to end its movement there, or it has to attack my warrior. So if this scout were to walk right here, it would be in my warrior zone of control, and it wouldn't be able to keep running. So most likely this barbarian scout is going to go into this tundra space, because that's not in anybody's zone of control, and maybe it'll lead us back to the barbarian encampment. Alright, he actually was able to move 2 spaces, because this is a flat space, so it only costs 1 movement point, and forests cost 2 movement points, but scouts have 2 movement points. So we're going to go ahead and keep chasing, because I'm still exploring the map. It's handy. And eventually, the scout might hit the bottom of the map here, or the ocean, and not be able to run anymore. And that's all we can really do on this turn. Alright, so now we finish researching Code of Laws, which is the first civic, and we can talk about the government system in this game. So you start out with like a chiefdom, which is very, very simple type of government. You can only have 1 military policy and 1 economic policy, and these are like bonuses that you get. So for the military policy, we can choose between one of these 2 cards, which we just got when we completed researching Code of Laws. So Survey gives double experience for recon units, and Discipline gives you +5 combat strength when fighting barbarians. If I'd had this when I fought that scout in the woods with my scout the first time, I might have actually killed that scout. So some of these cards make a pretty big difference. We'll go ahead and take the bonus strength for fighting barbarians. And normally I would take urban planning here. However, in the interest of education, I'm going to grab God King, because this will let us talk a little bit about pantheons and religion. This produces 1 faith and 1 gold in the capital. The alternative option is to provide +1 production in all your cities, and that will actually help you produce things faster than, just getting +1 faith and +1 gold. But we'll do this again for educational purposes. Then we confirm the policies, and the agenda is set. You can change the agenda anytime you finish researching a new civic. So like right now I'm going to start researching craftsmanship, and once that finishes, I'll be able to change my policies around if I want. Alright, let's go ahead and keep on moving this warrior down, trying to cut off the scout from going northward. In fact, I think I can actually move my warrior anymore. No, that must have been a hill space or something. And then the scout will move into the forest. And can I attack the enemy scout? That is, I think, also a forest. Yeah, that's hills, so I can't move in here because I spent 2 of my 3 movement points going into the forest, and then I don't have any movement points left for going into these hills. But if I had, if this had been a flat space, I could have moved in for 1 point and then spent 2 movement points to attack the scout and kill it. Notice now that because of the zone of control rules, if this scout were to move here and try to escape into this open space, it couldn't, because this spot is within my scout's zone of control, so then he would only be able to attack my scout or stay put, and then I'd be able to leap in and kill him. Similarly, if he goes out this way, he'll be within my warrior zone of control, so this scout can only keep on running down here diagonally, and I'm hoping I'll be able to cut him off. Alright, there is one of Germany's scouts. Alright, this scout just gave up on life, and now my scout can attack him and finish him off. Notice now down in the bottom it says decisive victory. That's what it'll say when you're about to kill somebody. And notice I have an attack of 13 versus his attack of 2. So I am absolutely going to destroy this guy, and down he goes. And conveniently, he did lead us right into his camp. Perfect. So barbarian camps can spawn more units, like it has spawned this warrior here. And so you'll want to take them out. The other nice thing about taking out these camps is that they provide gold when you walk into the camp space. The camp space is guarded by a spearman, and usually you have to kill the spearman to get in there. However, the spearman sometimes will actually walk out, and then if it just leaves the space unguarded, you can just saunter in with anybody and grab the gold, and also stop barbarians from spawning. Now, I'm feeling pretty good about fighting barbarians because I have that policy that gives me +5 combat strength against barbarians. So I'm perfectly happy to go warrior versus warrior, even though warriors normally have the same strength, and you wouldn't have any advantage doing that. Alright, that's it for this turn. So the German scout is ignoring all this. And now, this is actually great. So we get new research, which is fine. I think I'm going to go ahead and research irrigation. And this warrior attacked my scout, and my scout barely survived. However, that gave my scout enough experience for a promotion, so let's talk about those. When your units engage in battle, whether they win or lose, just by engaging in battle or by being attacked, they get some experience. And when they get enough experience, they level up, like in an RPG. Then when you level up, you get a promotion. Now, choosing a promotion ends the unit's turn. In order to claim the promotion, you have to have at least 1 movement point remaining, and you have to have not attacked during the turn. So the scout could, for example, move all the way back here, spending 2 of its 3 movement points, and then grab the promotion. That's one possibility if I was afraid for the scout's life and wanted to run away. However, I'm going to go ahead and leave the scout here. And I'm just going to grab the promotion, because when you take a promotion, in addition to getting to choose like an ability, you also heal for half of your hit points. So the promotions that you get to choose from vary depending on what type of unit it is. So Scout is a recon unit, so it has these options to choose from. Warriors are a melee class unit, so they would have different options when they level up. So for my first option, I can either move faster through woods or through hills. We can take a quick look around the map to see what there's more of. Seems like woods is probably faster, but that's fine. On a later promotion, I can pick the other one if I want. And there's kind of a tech tree here, so after I pick Ranger, I can choose either Sentry or Guerrilla the next time I level up. So we're going to get Ranger, heal up a little bit. And then my Warrior, I think I'm just going to go ahead and attack his Warrior. Notice it's 25 versus 18. I have +5, and he is damaged because he attacked my Scout a little bit, so we'll go ahead and pop him. Get them down low. Barbarians never heal, whereas your units, you can actually choose a fortify option, which will cause them to slowly heal over time. So taking even trades against barbarians is totally fine. Alright, we have found another AI, Scythia. So we're going to show her where the capital is. They sent us an envoy, so what the envoy does is it gives them some more diplomatic visibility. I don't really know if it makes that big of a difference, but you can let them through if you want to be friendly. That increases their opinion of you. Alright, and so now we got, this warrior is really, really badly damaged. So even though scouts have very low strength, and this is, and actually right now my scout has less strength than the warrior, because I've got that +5 advantage versus barbarians, and because the warrior is so damaged, I could actually take out his warrior with my scout. The problem is then that the spearman would probably kill my scout, so we'll actually go ahead and get the job done with our own warrior. And then the scout, well, the scout can keep on exploring, so let's see if there's like anything out here in the snow. Snow is pretty crappy terrain. It doesn't produce any resources or anything, so I'm probably not going to be expanding much in this area. Alright, so she sends us a trade delegation. That's fine. Alright. And now our city has finished producing a builder, so let's go ahead and do some stuff with this builder. So builders have 3 charges, and they can use those charges to improve the tiles. If we take a look at the city and click Manage Citizens, we can see that these are the 3 tiles that are currently being worked. Some tiles have bonuses on them, and you can like improve those things by putting a builder on them. So I can, for example, like farm this rice, which is a bonus resource. There are also some resources like this, which are luxury resources, and what that does is it increases the amenities for your civilization. So like if I were to have a warrior harvest this or improve this silk, it would actually provide 1 amenity to 4 different cities throughout my civilization, which would help reduce unhappiness. There's another copy of silk up here, so I could actually eventually get 8 copies of silk in my civilization if I wanted to. You'll notice also the borders have expanded a little bit, so there's cotton over here that I can improve too. And wow, this place is just loaded with luxury resources. It's quite an interesting start. What we'll do with this warrior is, again, I want to try to focus on the places that have people working on them. So like if these are the tiles being worked, those are the ones I want to improve. So we're going to go here to the rice and then build a farm. So farms produce +1 food if the tile is worked on, and they also provide 0.5 housing. So 2 farms will increase the housing count of my city by 1. Because I farmed a resource, it boosted irrigation, so now it's only going to take 2 more turns to finish instead of like 6 or 7, whatever it was. And so when I get irrigation, you'll notice I'll be able to like add, for example, a farm on this silk to make that better. In order to improve copper, I would have to research the mining technology, so maybe that's what I'll do next. Now I gotta make something here, and again, this is not necessarily the optimal choice, but I'm going to choose a settler just so I can show you how adding new cities to your empire works. Over here we got a scout. I'm just going to go ahead and hit the E button to have it start exploring automatically, because not necessarily that that's the best thing to do in general. It's obviously nice if you can control the units yourself, but just for the sake of this video, to keep it simple, we'll do that. So now this warrior, I want to use to take out this barbarian camp. At the moment, it's a stalemate because the spearman, as you can see, has a base strength of 25, whereas my warrior is a base strength of only 20. Now I'm making up a lot of that difference because I have +5 combat versus barbarians, and warriors, which are a melee class unit, get +10 strength, which is a lot, versus anti-cavalry units, which is what spearmen are. So your starting warriors are actually not bad at taking out these camps. The problem is that the spearman is fortified, so he's getting an extra +6, so it's kind of a stalemate right now. What I'm going to do is click this fortify until healed button. This will put the warrior into fortified formation until he's healed to full, and when he's healed to full, he'll have more strength. He won't have that that -4 penalty for being damaged, and that will make taking out the spearmen much easier. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and the game will automatically prompt me to use this warrior when it is at full health. Alright, so now that we've improved this rice, we want to go ahead and make some more improvements. What I'm going to do here, I think, is... yeah, I'm going to get irrigation next turn. So I don't think I actually want to improve that cotton since it's not being worked. I want to improve this copper. But to improve the copper, I would have to have mining, which is like I did in research. So you can see, you got to make some tough choices throughout this game. What I think I'm going to do here is just go to the copper space and just stay there. And then in one turn, irrigation will be over, and then I'll be able to improve the copper or the cotton with my next action. Okay, so now that I've finished irrigation, I'm thinking, I really want to improve that copper, so let's go ahead and pick up mining, which will take 4 turns. And in the meantime, this builder can now, because I researched irrigation, improve the cotton, giving an extra amenity to my capital. Now, notice here, the Eureka for Craftsmanship is improved 3 tiles. I've already improved 2, and I'm going to get a 3rd one pretty soon. So what I can do is I can actually switch what I'm researching. I can be like, you know what, forget this. Let me just go ahead and go to foreign trade next. And when I get the boost requirement for craftsmanship, it will automatically finish researching, even if I'm researching something else at the time. So this is a little micromanaging thing that you can do to get a little more efficiency out of your research. Alright, so now we find that there's actually another camp out here, which makes me think, I really want to take that camp out. So you can do this. I can go into my city and, I'm currently working on the settler up here, but I'm like, you know what? I really want to get a warrior out so I can, take out the spearman here. And the game will remember how much progress you made on the settler. Like it shows you here, like you've completed this much progress on the settler. So you know, if you were to start it now, it'd only take you 4 turns. And you can start as many things as you want. The game will remember how much you've invested in each of the different things, and you can switch them up at will. Okay, so now that my builder's finished doing that, I'm gonna go ahead and try to get on this copper space in preparation for you know, mining it once I finish the mining technology. Now, I didn't move on here right now because this is a hill space, so the warrior didn't, or the worker, the builder, didn't have enough movement points to step onto it. Alright, so my warrior now has been prompted to go because he's at full health. Germany, unbeknownst to me, has actually brought a couple of warriors in here to take over this barbarian camp, so it's lucky that my warrior woke up when he did, because now I'm going to be the one to take out this camp and get the gold bonus for doing so. Boink! And that gave me an inspiration for something, a military tradition, which requires you to clear out a barbarian camp. It also gave me bronze working, which I think I got just because I killed enough barbarians. We can actually take a look at that. Bronze working. Kill 3 barbarians. Yep, that was my 3rd barbarian kill, so I boosted it, and now that's going to, you know, research faster. And I found a foreign continent, so foreign trade, which is the civic I was researching, gets boosted as well. Alright, this is pretty nice. There's mining, it's finished. Now that we finished mining, we can take a look at something else and research it. Now again, I'm not going to make necessarily the most optimal choice here, but just to illustrate some components of the game, I'm going to go ahead and research writing, which will unlock a district. And I think once we finish that, we can wrap things up with this video. So let's go ahead and do that. And now the builder, which is on the copper space, can build a mine. This will be the 3rd tile that I'm improving, so it'll boost craftsmanship. And now that that's completed, I will, you know, be that much closer to working my way down the civics tree. So I finished a civic. Even though it wasn't the one I was researching, because I finished it, I can now change policies. So if I wanted to, I could put something else in here. I am actually going to leave God King in, although this will take a little bit of time. I'm going to leave this in just because I want to get a Pantheon and show you what that is. But in a real game, you know, you can be like, I want to make some more builders, so you can get this one. Or you can get this one to get more production in your cities, or whatever. And again, you can make this choice anytime you finish researching a civic. Alright, so my warrior's out here. He's earned a promotion. I'm going to go ahead and move 1 space, then pick up the promotion. So I can either get plus 10 strength when defending against range attacks, or just plus 7 strength against most anything that I could ever fight. So that's obviously a nice one. We'll go ahead and pick that up. It's going to make me a real slayer of barbarians. And in fact, at this point, I can be like, you know what? This guy is done. I'm just going to go ahead and send him over. I can right-click to queue up movement. He's going to trundle across the snow and go get this barbarian camp. So now in Cairo, I'm like, you know what? I don't want that warrior after all. Let's just go and finish our settler. Alright, there's a scout over here. I had this scout on auto explore, but it stopped doing that because it ran into barbarians. If you have a unit that's exploring automatically, it'll eventually stop doing that if, you know, you get attacked. I'm going to go ahead and park the scout on this hill back here and hopefully try to fortify him up. And if this warrior doesn't chase me, I'll be able to heal up to full eventually. Nope, the warrior's hell-bent on chasing me, so I guess I'm going to fortify up anyway and let this thing attack me if it wants to. You get a bonus to strength when you use the fortify option. Indeed, they did some fighting. Alright, so let's take a look at our policy, see if there's anything here that we want. Not really, so we'll just leave it the way it is. This allows us to build traders. I guess I could actually include that in my instructional video here. Yeah, maybe we'll talk about traders as well, because that's a somewhat important part of the game. In the civic tree, if you don't really care about what you're doing, you can just click on something later on in the tree, and then the game will automatically research everything that you need on the way there. So, like, political philosophy is often something people beeline towards because it gives you new governments, which are much stronger than the chiefdom that you start with. So we'll go ahead and just click on this and let the game automatically research the 2 prerequisites that it needs in order to get there. Alright, now my scout is going to die to this warrior. So we'll try to run away over to this hill and see if that actually works. That warrior is really hell-bent on getting me, so we're going to run away over here, use our superior scouting speed to do that, to get away from danger. Alright, now we got writing and the settler finished here, so that's actually perfect timing, because now we can build our first district. So, districts in this game are like locations that you actually build within your city borders. When you build a district, it overrides whatever's on that tile. So like if I were to build a campus right here, it would actually get rid of the 2 gold, the 2 production, the 2 food, the copper, and the mine that I built there. So you can actually screw yourself up a lot by overriding districts in bad spots. Districts do different things depending on what they are. I'm not going to explain all of them in this video, but the campus is a district that increases your science output. And when you choose the production of the district, so I'm going to actually back out for a second here. If you hover over it, okay, it's actually, for some reason, not telling me. One moment, please. Yeah, okay, so for some reason right now, it's not hover, and when I hover over it, it's not actually telling me what to do. It just says a district in your city for scientific endeavors. Yeah, thanks. It's really helpful, game. You can go into the Civilopedia by hitting F9 and then type in the name of the district to get more detailed information. So this will tell you everything a district does. It gets 1 great scientist point per turn. It produces +1 science for being next to any of these things. And basically, being adjacent to any mountain gives it +1 science. Being adjacent to 2 rainforest tiles gives +1 science, and being adjacent to any 2 other district tiles gives you +1 science. You can also have eventually, not right away, but you can eventually put a citizen on the square with the district and get +2 science that way as well. Notice that when somebody trades to you, if it's domestic, you'll get +1 food, and if it's international, it gives you +1 science. So having more districts in your cities makes your internal trade routes better. We'll talk about trade routes later on. So this one, if we go back to where we're building it, you'll notice that in this spot, it's getting +2 science because it's next to 2 mountains, and each one gives 1 science. Whereas over here, it's not next to any of the things, so it's not giving any science at all. Now, you can build buildings within districts. So campuses start out with the ability to build a library inside, which increases the science by 2. So building a district in a naked spot is not necessarily a bad thing. You can also purchase tiles around your city using this menu. Let me back out of this again. Using the purchase tiles menu, you can spend gold to buy tiles and add them to your borders. Again, up to a limit of within 3 tiles from the center of your city. So I can never, for example, get this tile into my borders because it's 4 spaces away, no matter how much gold I have. So if you want to build, purchase a tile because you really want to put a district in a particular place, you can expand your options. I could actually, pay. I'm gonna do this just to illustrate it. It's not necessarily a good thing, but for example, we could just pay 40 here, and then pay 60 there, and then we can build a campus now in this location. So if I wanted to keep this farmland open and just have the campus in the otherwise useless snow, I could do that. So since I spent the gold for it, I'm not saying that was a good use of gold, but since I did it, let's go ahead and put the campus there, yes, and now we start constructing it. So construction works just like any other thing. It takes a certain number of production and thus a certain number of turns to complete depending on how productive the city is. And once it's finished being built, you start to get its bonuses. Let's go ahead and choose our next bit of research. I'm trying to see if there's anything here that I want to, illustrate. So Holy Site is a district we could get if we were to get up to astrology. Keep in mind, though, that there is a limit to how many districts you can have in a city. At 3 population, you can get 1 district. At 6 population, you can get 2 districts, and so on. It's 1 per 3. So I guess the most educational thing I can think of is to do... Let me see here. Yeah, I don't think there's anything super educational left for me to show you here. So we'll go ahead and just do bronze working and move on. Now here's our settler. So when you have a settler, you can found a new city. When a settler is selected, or when you press 4 on your keyboard, you can see this, what's called the settler lens. And this shows you what spots on the map are good for settling. And so I do want to talk about this because it can be important. The red spots means it is illegal to settle there, and spots that are illegal to settle are mountains and any tile that is within 3 spaces of another city's center. So I cannot settle in any of these areas because it's too close to my starting city, and I guess these spaces are illegal. Well, this one's a mountain. These must be illegal because they are too close to someone else's city. Really, in this video, I did a terrible job exploring. I found some barbarians, but I did not find a single city-state or a single other civilization's capital, so maybe I should try to find that before this video ends. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and send the settler out to one of these green spaces. Green spaces are the best places to settle because what that means is that it is next to a river, so you get significantly higher housing capacity to start. Whereas if you found a city on one of these white spaces, you get no housing bonus, so you start off having a really hard time growing your population. Of course, when you're choosing where to settle, you want to think about things like what are the bonus or luxury resources within reach of that city, what are the yields within the reach of that city, and so on. So here we'll go ahead and send him over to this space. Again, I'm not saying it's a good place to do it. It's just, for educational purposes, we'll find another city. That warrior seemed to give up chasing my scout, so I'm going to move another couple of steps over and then try to fortify again. I really would like to get some scouting done and find another city-state so I can at least talk about those because they're pretty important. Okay. Oh my god, there is one of Scythia's settlers. So this actually could be bad because if Scythia founds a city here, it's going to become illegal for me to found a city there. Whoops. Well, I can't do anything except watch it happen. Alright, now my warrior is next to the spearman camp, and you can see this is a major victory because with my bonus against barbarians and my bonus from that promotion that I got, and then my bonus versus anti-cavalry, and you can see down there I'm racking up a huge gob ton of bonuses that can really smack this spearman around. That'll be next turn, I suppose. The spearman actually came out to attack me, which was a very bad choice. I'm not sure why he did that, so we're going to go ahead and bash his face in. And luckily, Scythia seems uninterested in settling here, although that would have been a perfectly fine spot to settle as far as I can tell. Let's go ahead across the river over there. And finally, we got our Pantheon. All right, so building up a certain amount of faith, which seems to vary within each game, gives you a Pantheon. And this is just a bonus that will stay with your civilization for the entire rest of the game. So they're pretty minor bonuses, but they can be nice. Like your cities grow a little bit faster, or borders expand a little bit more quickly. You get 50 faith whenever you clear a barbarian outpost, and so on. So eventually, you can found a religion. I'm not going to talk about religion in this video because that, first of all, takes a long time, and second of all, gets a bit more complicated. But when you found your religion, you still get to keep your pantheon belief. And so one thing that you can do when you get a pantheon is, if you want to play a religious game, I'll say like generally, you may want to get something that, gives you bonus faith. Whereas if you don't particularly care about the religious game, you can just grab some other bonus that is applicable to your civilization. So for example, if you have lots of camps, then, maybe this would be good. If you have lots of luxuries, which actually I have some, you can, get that, and that could be good. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to grab religious settlements so that my borders expand faster. What that means is that the rate at which tiles get added into your city borders is a little bit quicker, and once I pick this, it's there with me for the rest of the game. I also get a bonus to mysticism, which was to get a pantheon. You increase half of that tech. Okay, so yeah, now we can go to the next turn. The settler goes back for some reason. I don't know why, but by founding a city here, pop, I stopped that settler from Scythia from being able to do anything because now all of these spaces are illegal since they're within 3 of my city. I notice that these aren't red. They once the next turn happens, these will turn red to show that is now the new rule in effect. And so Germany marched its slinger up to this barbarian camp. However, once again, Germany is too late. I'm going to take out this barbarian camp before Germany can. Oh, wow. Or before Scythia could. Man, that barbarian camp was not long for this world. Okay. Let's go ahead and choose some production in my new city. So I think I'm just gonna see, can I actually purchase one? So there's a purchase window here which allows you to purchase stuff for gold. And I'm actually just gonna go ahead and purchase a trader here so I can talk about trading. And I think that'll be a good place to wrap up this video. So what I choose to do here is irrelevant because we're gonna be ending soon. So the AI is mad at me that I'm settling too close, so I will apologize and hope that Scythia doesn't attack me. So there's my warrior. I would really like to find another city-state. Alright, well, I didn't find city-states, so you'll have to figure those out on your own when you play. They're not too complicated. But anyway, I've made my first trader. So let's talk about trade routes and wrap up this video. Up here, you can see how many trade routes your civilization is allowed to have. You start out with a capacity of 1. Each time you build a commercial hub or a harbor, which are districts, your capacity increases by 1. And there are other bonuses that you might get throughout the game that increase your trade route capacity. So when you have a trader, you can choose to start a trade route between the city that currently houses the trader and some other city. Now, I haven't found any city-states, and I didn't find any other civilizations, so my only option is to send a trader out from this new city to my existing one. Doing a trade route does a couple of things. First of all is as the trader moves along, it builds a road. And what roads do, which is very nice, is they reduce the movement cost of traveling through those spaces. They get better and better as the eras go on, but your starting road basically makes it so that the space on the road costs only one movement point, even if it's hilly or forested. And if it's a flat land space, it does nothing. In later eras, the roads give a bigger bonus than that. So it forms a road. In addition, the city that originated the trader gets bonuses. Now, right now, to send a city or trade route from one of your cities to one of your other cities, you only get one food and one production. If you send a trade route internationally, instead of food and production, you typically get, gold, science, culture, or some of those other resources, depending on what those other cities contain. As you build up districts, though, districts increase, food and production. So, like, once I fill up Cairo with a bunch of districts, depending on what type of districts they are, this might be like, 3 food and 5 production. So internal trade routes are really important because they can dramatically improve the food production and the production of your civilization. Now, one thing to keep in mind, this is a little bit tricky, is that the benefit only goes toward the city that the trade route started from. So this trader, if I were to send him to Cairo right now, would only benefit this Hattusa, or whatever that city is called. What's that city name? Hatton. Yeah, so it would only benefit Hatton. It would not actually benefit my capital at all. If you want to benefit a different city, if you're like, shoot, I actually want to improve Cairo, not Hatton, then what you would do is you'd click this transfer to another city button and click the city you want to transfer it to, and the trader would sit there. You can't use the trader right away. You have to wait a turn, and then once a turn passes, you can then send out your trader. So now I can choose a trade route, and again, it's the same thing because at base it's just one food and one production for the trade route between 2 of your own cities, but this time the food and production would be going towards Cairo rather than towards Hatton. So you click begin route, and then the trader is off and running. Now at this point we can make some, kind of adjustments here. So like, I know that state workforce, I'm going to build a district soon, so I'm going to get the inspiration for this. I'm going to start doing it because I also know that my civilization is going to have at least 6 populations soon. It's already got 5, 4 in my capital and 1 in my new city. So once that finishes, this will finish researching. So basically spending time researching this civic is a waste because I'm already going to get it completed when I get the bonus. In fact, I probably could have spent maybe 1 fewer turn researching it and still finished it. Unfortunately, in this video, it does not look like I'm going to find I'm going to find any city-states. Yeah, in fact, right here, so my state workforce just got the boost because my campus finished building here, so now I'm getting some extra science. And we can build, for example, a monument to get more culture, or a granary to get more food and more housing. Oh man, am I really not going to find a city-state here? I think that is a possibility. Let me actually see if, yes. Okay, so now we're going to get, let's say all +1 production in all cities. That's fine. Set the agenda. See if I can purchase a scout. Yeah, let's just purchase a scout. And let's see if I can find a city-state. So I know I said I'd end the video, but let's put this guy on auto explore. And let's just see if I can find oh my god, Germany's fighting me. All right then, well, so yeah, this was obviously not very optimal play. Germany's overrunning me with warriors here, and I never did quite manage to find a city-state, so we can't talk about how city-states work. But if you want to see me play this game more and actually make optimal moves as opposed to random moves that do nothing other than explain the mechanics of the game, definitely subscribe to my channel because I will be doing some gameplay series on the Emperor difficulty. That's the 3rd highest difficulty in the game, and actually trying to play it properly. So if you want to learn more about the game and get some more in-depth strategy, make sure you subscribe and check out those videos that I'll have coming out soon, in which I will make sure that I explain city-states, which we didn't manage to find here, but which, are a mildly important part of the game. Thanks for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please like and or subscribe, and I hope to see you soon for some more videos. Take care.